My name is Cyrus DeGraff Johnson. Sorry for keeping you waiting. We'll be starting in a few minutes. And our first speaker for today, more than 600 homes and trained several new home inspectors. In March 2020, Albert relocated his family to Ghana with a ground plan of educating home buyers, investors, and builders on proper and safe building construction. His company, BIG, or BIG, that is Building Inspectors of Ghana, specializes in protecting its clients by providing the most in-depth, honest, and professional real estate inspection in West Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with a round of applause, let's welcome this gentleman onto the podium to speak to us on a topic he's very well versed in. Thank you.
How's everyone doing this morning? Great. I am very thankful to be here. Hello. There we go. I'm very thankful to be here and have the opportunity to introduce real estate professionals to home inspections. They're very vital and important, and they can protect the investment for a potential seller or buyer. My apologies. Alrighty, and so today we're going to just go over a brief introduction to home inspections for real estate professionals. There we go. We're going to begin with just a brief introduction about myself. We're going to talk about what is a building home inspection. Why is it important to have a pre-purchase or listing inspection? We're also going to talk about the importance of rental and lease inspection, especially here in Ghana, with lease terms being 6 months paid up front up to a year. We want to look at important systems that make up a building. Then we're going to take a look at some inspection photos, let you see what inspectors see during a typical home inspection. And then we have a sample inspection report and repair list, which is very detailed and formal. And lastly, we're going to introduce you guys to red flag checks. This is a part of the inspection that you guys as an agent can provide to your client before deciding if you want to put in an offer on a home or before you list the property. My name is Albert Joy Allen Jr. I'm named after my father. My Ghanaian name is Nana Yao Asari. I'm Thursday born. When I relocated here, everyone would ask me, what is your Ghanaian name? What is your Ghanaian name? And so I actually had a young man sit and we pulled up my birthday and found that I was Thursday born. What's ironic, though, is that my oldest son, he's Thursday born, and my youngest son, he's Thursday born. So that was very blessed. I am from Arlington, Texas. It is the second biggest state in the United States. Our real estate industry is booming. Compared to other states in the United States, we have one of the largest markets. We can see anywhere, so I won't overestimate, at least 20,000 transactions within a year. So there's a lot of opportunity for home inspections, realtors, investors, and other, just any other industry that can spawn off of real estate. I have a beautiful wife, Cameron Allen Kaiser. She's also a realtor of Keys to the City Group and Keys to Sankofa. Together we do 1-2 punch it. I find myself working for free a lot of times. She'll have me put my eyes on a property, look over inspection reports done by other home inspectors just to verify that they were thorough and detailed enough when they did the home inspection. I have 5 beautiful children. My big boy to the far right, if you can see up there, he attends college. He's a football player and a father. So he blessed us with our first grandchild. Her name is Malaya. She is so beautiful. I didn't want to put the picture up because it'd be so distracting. She's so gorgeous. The next young man is our youngest son, Elijah. He is a rugby player. We have plans to send him to the University of Cape Coast, where hopefully he can become a general practitioner. Then our daughter, Ejasia. I go by EJ. She's Ejasia. She starts medical school, and she's also preparing to become a licensed nail tech, and she runs her own online clothing boutique. And Malachi, I think some of y'all have met Malachi. She's our oldest daughter and the oldest, and she's a realtor with Keys to City Group, and she's also a member of GREPA. And lastly, we have Emmanuel. He's in high school, varsity baseball player, academic scholar. Oh, we're just very proud of the children, the family, and we put a lot of work into the children, and we try to be the best example as far as entrepreneurship and professionalism as we can. Just a little bit about some of the education and certifications I have. I have an associate's in applied science and business management. I have certifications in marketing and advertisement. And lastly, a bachelor's of business administration, a BBA. I attended Tarrant County College. Then I transferred into Northwood University. Northwood University is one of the top 25 business schools in the United States, according to the Forbes list. Once I completed obtaining my BBA, I began to get into the field of an educator. My passion was to teach. I like to engage with children, and but as my wife was in the real estate industry, I began to make supplemental money because teachers don't make a lot of money. I began to do home insurance inspections. And just doing those inspections and getting the feedback from the clients, they were telling me the home isn't assurable because these deficiencies, these problems were not addressed during the home inspection. And so now they were just really complaining to me about how much their home inspector lacked the ability and skills to do a thorough inspection. So I said, hey, I think I can get in here and make a change into the industry. And so I received my home inspection training through American Home Inspection Training, AHIT, and I have my international certification through INTERNACHI, which is an International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. I'm licensed in Texas also. I'm a TREC certified home inspector. And also I am a Texas pest control technician. So in the Texas market, a lot of times when you're called for a home inspection, individuals will also ask, can you do a pest control inspection? A lot of times it's required depending on what type of loan the buyer is going to use. So the companies that I formed in the state was Full House Inspections. We do commercial and residential home inspections. We've done well over 600 home inspections. I have 2 other home inspectors that work with Full House Inspectors. And we continue to still do business today while I'm still here in Ghana. Hallelujah. When I relocated here in 2020 of March, I had the vision to begin BIG, which is Building Inspectors of Ghana. Not only do we provide commercial and residential home inspections, but we also want to begin instructing and certifying other individuals to become home inspectors also. At a point, we will send out information to fill those courses and get people certified as home inspectors here in Ghana. It's a great opportunity to begin a business, to supplement already working in the real estate industry. There are several realtors in the States who were home inspectors, who have turned to realtors, and realtors who went from that and went to home inspections. So it's really hand in hand, and it's really good. What is a building inspection? Okay, it is a personal property inspection that is not biased. We want to evaluate the physical structure, foundation, electrical, plumbing, heating, air conditioning, roof, built-in appliances, interior and exterior walls, doors and windows. Upon completion of the home inspection, you receive a detailed formal report that you can go through as a buyer or seller, find the deficiencies, be able to identify repair costs, and begin to coordinate getting contractors in to complete those repairs. As far as the pre-listing inspection for a seller, I highly recommend it. You don't know how many times I've done a home inspection and I could not believe that the seller actually put this home on the market. Holes in the wall, plumbing is leaking, oh my goodness, lights not properly installed, tons of problems. We sometimes call it lipstick on a pig. Sometimes the seller would paint things, put new fixtures, and it will distract the buyer from seeing those hidden deficiencies that can really hurt a deal. Also, sellers taking the pre-listing home inspection, it puts the ball in their court. So often sellers feel like they're being haggled or hassled when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to the things that they need repaired or the deficiencies that they have in their home. Well, this gives you the opportunity to catch it up front, decide if you want to make that repair, or if you want to disclose the deficiencies in the home, so that way you can present it as is, and then during the negotiation process, it won't be as stressful. Also, as a seller, you're showing the potential buyer that you're trustworthy and you're not hiding anything. As far as the pre-purchase home inspection, once again, buyers should always have an inspection before they purchase a home. I didn't just buy this suit and not try it on. No one just goes and gets a car, look at it, buy it without test driving it. It is very important that you protect your investment and you get a pre-listing home inspection. Sometimes we'll get in there, we'll find that the home is infested with termites. Those are things that are not easily seen. We find that they're just poor material quality, workmanship that has been done inside the home. And we don't want you to get into a situation, especially in Texas, where you're putting money up and you begin the process of negotiating to purchase the home, and then you find out that the home has all these different problems and deficiencies. The most important thing, though, for the buyer is that the report gives them a snapshot of the home at a particular point in time. So if ever there needs to be any referencing back to the report, they'll be able to come back, look at the photos, look at the report, and they can gauge the wear and tear or the repairs that are needed in the future for the home. It's not a major thing here in Ghana, but definitely in the stateside. The inspection is also important for insurability of the home. You don't want to purchase a home and then, like I say, find out that you have limited insurability for the property. Most important, and this is, since I've been in Ghana, I've had to rent several properties, and if I was not a home inspector, I would be very, very disappointed. And sometimes I'm still disappointed. But at least when you come in and before you give 6 months to a year rent, you want to be able to hold the landlord accountable for whatever deficiencies there are in the building, coming in, seeing electrical outlets that are hanging from the wall, water staining in the shower area. You want to address these things because once you give them the money, it's very hard to get it back. Also for accountability for if there's a damage. We've had a situation where we had a really bad flood after the fact, and we were able to get discounted rent, but if we did not address those things, let the landlord know, hey, the water hoses that you have are not proper pressure rated hoses for the shower, he would have just said, it just happened. But we were able to address a lot of the things, issues with the property. And when we did still have some hiccups, we were able to negotiate or work out a way to keep the landlord accountable. Because you'll find a lot of times that the landlords really don't want to put a lot of money into the property. I see a lot of rental properties just by eyesight that need upkeep, painting. They need the windows to be new windows, doors, but you know they make the initial investment and they want to get the most returns, but you have to take care of your property. Lastly, another important reason is it causes or it fosters good communication and cooperation between the landlord and the renter. As a landlord, you don't want to rent your property to someone who will tear it up, who will damage things and then leave it to where you cannot rent it out. So for both parties, the rental and lease inspection is very important. We're going to talk about some of the systems that make up a building. We have structural and foundation. Here in Ghana, especially with the foundation, the way they use the wooden form boards to hold the cement, the concrete in place while it hardens, the material sometimes is not the best. You'll see that they recycle form boards. There'll be damage, termite damage, and it doesn't allow for the concrete to set in the best way. And so you want to make sure that the rebar is properly gauged so that it can reinforce the concrete and also support the load of the structure as you begin to build up. General construction overall. Something that was shocking to me is when the laborers, you know, they don't wear any protective equipment. They'll wear sandals, sometimes no shoes. And you want to hire individuals or make sure you're working with contractors that are showing their due diligence, not only just building, but even protecting their workers. I look at trash being left on the site. I look at several things to overall gauge the quality of the work and the workmanship that they're going to put into the structure. I check the plumbing. We're looking for any leaks, any low water pressure coming from the faucet. We're also looking for any slow drainage, gargling while the water is going down the drain. Also with plumbing, I look for improper materials. You'll notice a lot, and I'll show a slide later, they use accordion-style drain piping, which is a temporary installation and should not be permanent at all. Electrical, we want to make sure that they're properly installing the electrical wiring, make sure that there's no fire hazards, shock hazards, exposed wires. Oh man, it can really get in depth when you begin going through the building with a fine-tooth comb and taking it inch by inch. We're going to look at the roof, make sure that there's no leaks, make sure that it's properly secured to the structure. If they're using metal shingles, we want to make sure from the interior side of the home that we don't see any light coming through. That can give you signs that if there's any rain, that will possibly be a leak. We want to make sure that the shingles are properly overlaying so that rainwater can shed through and not get in between the shingles and leak inside the home. We're going to look at windows and doors for proper operation, make sure that they're installed correctly. I cannot tell you how many times I've done an inspection here and the doors are installed backwards. And so someone can actually lock you into the bathroom from the outside. And sometimes the windows, I notice, they have security bars on them, which is a major fire hazard. You got to have a means of egress if there's a fire or an emergency. And a lot of times they build these bars right into the structure. And so there is no way, even when they have the fire department come, it's very hard for them to get into the home. In the kitchen and bathrooms, once again, we just want to make sure the appliances work properly in the kitchen and that they're installed properly. We're looking for proper ventilation inside the kitchen. We want to make sure that any of the combustion from cooking, any of that moisture, we want to make sure it's getting out of the kitchen. You'll notice sometimes kitchens will begin to stain. You can see the grease and things collecting on the walls. That's because of poor ventilation. And also in bathrooms, you can see mold beginning to grow because there's a small window in there. You want to have a large enough window so there's enough venting and airflow that can go through the bathroom. Interior walls, ceilings, we're looking for vertical, horizontal cracks that show that we have any settling, any stress cracks, major movement. I notice here a lot of the cracks that I see, the horizontal, diagonal cracks, it's from poor workmanship. A lot of times we use the concrete blocks and they do not allow, or the contractors, they do not allow proper timing in applying the plaster and adding the load onto the home. As far as the air conditioning, we want to make sure that it properly cools the room, that there are no leaks, excessive noises, vibrations coming from the unit. And we also want to check the age of the unit. You don't want to get into a home or purchase a property with an old AC unit. Ventilation and drainage, once again, ventilation dealing with mold, drainage dealing with your sewage drainage. You don't want any backups, any excessive smell of sewage. These things are definite red flags for you to further inspect the drainage system. Gutters, you don't see those a lot along the roof line of a lot of properties. And so you'll notice that the siding a lot of times on buildings, the paint will begin to peel. You'll even notice along the bottom of a lot of buildings, you can see where the moisture is coming up and causing the paint to discolor. Well, this is because the gutters are not installed on the building. The water is just treading down the side of the home and it's collecting along the area where the structure meets the grade. And so basically you're just putting more wear and tear on your building than there needs to be. Garages, carports. For carports, make sure that they're properly installed and constructed. We don't want anything to collapse. For garages, I mainly make sure that the entrance and exit doors are properly sealed. We don't want any pests coming in. And a lot of times in the States, I'm going to say for that example, we want to try to keep it controlled in there because you may store things in there and you don't want those things to be damaged because it's not properly sealed. Lastly, walks and driveways. A lot of the driveways here, especially leading to a property, can be in bad shape, as we know, Ghana roads. And you have to let your buyer know, because, you know, you don't want to get them to the property and they drive there and they have such a bad first impression of the property. And basically, all this is what we're taking is so that we can first fully inform the client before they get to the property. If we can take a look at the property from Google, if we are able to do the walkthrough on the property before the client comes, get these things in your mind, communicate it to your client. We're not trying to lower their expectations, but a lot of times if you're fully disclose the things associated with the property, the buyer will still go through, especially if the price is right. We're going to take a look now at some inspection photos and videos just to give you an idea of what a home inspector does So, as a home inspector or a real estate professional that's performing a red flag check, the first thing we want to do is just take a photo of the structure from a vantage point to where you can see the front and right side or front and left side. We want to be able to provide the client with photos. Not only just tell them, but provide them photos of the property. And so here, just looking at this photo, this is a garage here. And looking at this photo, you don't see much. Once again, I take a photo of the driveway. I want to inform this client that the driveway has a very steep incline. And right where the street meets the road, there's a dip. And so I would just take this photo, show it to the client, let them know, hey, this property has a very steep incline on the driveway. And at some point, we may want to level it a little bit more as it declines towards the street, just so when we're entering and exiting the driveway, we're not putting much wear and tear on the vehicle. This is the front shot of the home. And these are good photos that you want to provide. You don't just want to show a client all the bad things. You want to do a mixture so that they can have a real understanding of the property. And you're not overselling it and you're not underselling. But you're just presenting information. I tell people all the time, you know, I don't make the news, I just report it. And so we want to present the information to the client, not saying, oh, this house is bad, and not saying, oh, this house is too good. No, there isn't any house that is perfect, especially if it's a used house. Even new construction homes, I find a lot of deficiencies. Here we see that the retaining wall has some wear and tear, vertical cracking. We see some water staining coming from the other side of the wall where the soil is up against it. We do see that they tried to install some drainage holes, but they did not encase it with some type of plastic or metal. And so you have just regular soil coming through those areas. We see it also here in the bottom right corner. That is what's supposed to allow water to come through and drain out. But it's not functioning properly, and so it's really putting a lot of wear and tear on the wall. I take a picture of everything, bugs, anything that you can find. You want to get a photo of it so that your client can really get a feel of the property, the different things associated with the yard, the scape, everything. Here's the roof. I typically would like to see what we call rafter ties. They're just this L-shaped little clasp where you will nail it to one side of a rafter and let it connect to the other. It allows for more reinforcement. I don't see that practice a lot here in Ghana construction. So as a real estate professional working with a foreigner or an expat, I would explain to them, the building practices here are slightly different. And so you may come into an area and notice that roof rafter ties are not being used to reinforce the ceiling. And so letting them know that before they see it and discover it, they will come into the situation with a more open mind about it. Because that's really what it's all about, is just being able to communicate the deficiencies, not in an alarming fashion, but communicate it with them so that they can make a informed decision and not feel like they're taken advantage of, or they're buying something that's less than. And typically, you can buy those rafter ties and a contractor will install them for you. It's just a lot of times they just don't buy those materials. We're in the garage once again. I'm looking here, making sure that we are properly sealed at the door, at the entry door. We don't want any bugs, any excessive heat coming in. There was items stored in here. There's also solar equipment in here. Broken glass. I test electrical outlets with just a typical charger with a light. I try not to put anything like a cell phone or anything when you're testing outlets, because you could damage it. We don't know if really this outlet is functioning properly, and you don't want to put something in there valuable that can get damaged. Once again, this is an exterior door that needs paint protectant applied to it. You have to paint protect your exterior doors from the weather conditions. That way you won't have this excessive rusting. This is a water pump here. They have it tied into, another thing that you have to really inform your client on is wire splicing. In the States, it's a big no-no. But here in Ghana, since I've been here, I've noticed that a lot of contractors, that's what they do. They'll take a brand new AC out of the box and they cut the wire and begin splicing it. That's a big no-no. It causes for shock and fire hazard. Even though it works, it's not the best practice to use. We have exposed batteries for the solar system. These things need to be properly enclosed in the area to where children cannot go in here, pull on cords, and possibly damage and possibly hurt themselves. And I just go through here and just show you how in depth we take photos of everything. This particular home inspection was 434 photos. Took roughly 2.5 hours. And here once again, we're just looking, making observations. Wiring isn't properly braced. I mean, anyone can come in there and pull, snag a cord. And I take all these things to look at, to overall gauge the construction and quality of the home. And to be able to let my client know, hey, this home is a good home, but we have areas in the home that need attention and that were not constructed or installed at the highest quality. and we test. We observe every structure. That's just the garage. I haven't even moved to the interior of the home. This is a stairs that are leading to the backyard. We need rails here. This is a very, very bad trip hazard, and we don't want anyone to get hurt while they're visiting your property. Once again, we want to take photos near drain plumbing, just to make sure that there's no leaking, signs of termites, and to make sure that things are properly installed. And these is all the this is signs of termites. That is a termite tube. You'll see termite tubes on your building material. Sometimes when they leave the concrete blocks out and they don't put the rubber on the bottom to protect it from the earth, you'll start to see termites eating the concrete blocks. Here is the sample report. Once we have taken all those photos and made the observations, we then put it in a formal inspection report. And we give this to the client. It has a photo of the property on it, the location, the client, date of the inspection. And this is just a quick sheet to look at the things that have been inspected or not inspected or that were deficient. And for that property, the foundation was okay, the grading and drainage. The roof covering materials was not inspected because it was a two-story or a high roof, and the roof had metal shingles on it. And so we tried not to walk a metal roof. We just try to get to the edge of it and try to take photos. I wasn't able to for that home. There wasn't any attic structures. There was some deficiencies in the walls, the ceilings and floors. The doors were fine, windows. And this is just how in depth and detailed the report is. It will give you the location of the meter, location of main water supply valve. It even tells you the shower stall has slow drains. Water inside the shower slowly drains. Inside bedroom next to master bedroom. So when we spot a deficiency, we want to describe, pinpoint its location, so that when we begin to hire or to get contractors in to make the repairs, we can send them directly to the deficiency without them guessing and coming back to you and fixing things that you didn't commission them for. You always want to have your contract in there, showing the limits to the scope of your inspection. You do not want to be held liable because you did not clearly state that if you cannot access a certain component of the home, you're not able to inspect it. Also, if it deems your safety, if your safety is in jeopardy, do not do it. We have home inspectors that do lose their lives in the process of doing the home inspection. Please be safe. Typically, a home inspection can range anywhere from $200 to $500. Here in Ghana, I really have to price it differently than in the States, because even though the home may be 4,000 square feet, the demand for the home inspection isn't as high as in the States. And so I have to do some negotiating just so I can earn the client's peace of mind and their confidence to purchase this service, a much needed service. Oh, and all GREPA members, you get an exclusive discount for home inspections provided by BIG. Here's a report here. Example, the handrails at the balcony have wood rot, apply paint protectant. Task, repair or replace. The patio is missing safety rails with balusters, safety hazard. We have the steps have an uneven surface and are steep. And so it'll show you examples in the report of how it should look and the way it should be corrected. So it's a really in-depth document that shows you the deficiencies in the home, that lets you know the condition of the home, and you can use this inspection report to negotiate the final purchasing price of the home. And for sellers, you can provide this report in a disclosure, and if you make some of the repairs and then some of them you don't, you can provide it as is to a client, and that will cause less hassle during the negotiations from the seller standpoint. Retaining walls, you'll see here that we have descriptions in here of what the wall is doing so that the client can be more informed about what is actually happening and why. Once again, the gutters here on this home, we're not connecting, so water is just dripping and not fully draining away from the structure. Openings in electric panels. Electric grounding is another thing that I don't see quite often here as far as the construction of the buildings here in Ghana. Typically, you can locate it inside the electric panel, and then on the exterior of the home, you should be able to locate the ground rod. But a lot of times, I do not see a ground rod, so I don't know. I can never verify the grounding a lot of times on the buildings. Finding breakers in off position. Never turn a breaker on if you find it in off position. Typically, it trips into the off position because there's a problem, or somebody's making a repair and they have it off until they finish the repair to turn back on. I know an inspector that turned on a breaker in off position and he blew out the entire electric panel. Very expensive fix. Some of the electrical outlets, you want to be careful. Make sure that they're properly attached to the wall. You don't want children to hurt themselves or possibly shock themselves. Another thing I see a lot is missing covers on wire junctions inside the home. And these are things, like I said, if you can do the walkthrough before a client, you want to inform them of these things so then when they come through, oh, I told you about that. You don't know how many times I've seen a walkthrough and the buyer's like, okay, I remember that. And they still move forward. Here's an active leak under the sink. And once again, here is a accordion style drain pipe. You can see there. That causes a higher chance for clogged pipes, slow drainage. And that's why a lot of times we smell sewage in our bathrooms, is because of this accordion style drain piping. It doesn't have the proper seals like regular elbow drain piping. Once again, it's just all over the home. They're using accordion style drain piping. I'm really disappointed when I go to a high-end hotel and they have this type of piping. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're ripping us off. This is temporary piping. It's not meant to be permanent, but people use it because it's flexible. And instead of getting the proper measurements, cutting the piping and installing it properly, they just get the accordion piping connect it, wiggle it anyway, and they're gone. That's one of the biggest problems here that I see. Once again, we have a drain stop that's ineffective. You got to be able to use that properly. Toilet seat was missing. And these are just little things that for a first time walkthrough for a potential buyer, they'll say this home is no good. When in actuality, if you proceed to put an offer in and you assess the value of these things, it's really not as much as you would think. And you may be missing out on a really great home. We see the different cracks, horizontal, vertical cracks, diagonal cracks that are throughout the home. This was mainly in one room. I really couldn't tell if it was any foundation issues. Another thing that's hard here in Ghana is getting the home facts, knowing when a home was built. They say, 5 years, 7 years. It is really important to know the year that a structure is built and to even kind of know the contractors associated in building the home. It just gives you further insight as to what could really be going on here. Is this a cosmetic issue or is this a structural issue? There was termite damage there under one of the pipes, drain pipes at the deck area. And they actually had termite damage at various areas. And so that is the report, which is very long, very long, very long. So instead, what we give the client is a repair list. And the repair list is easier to go through. It doesn't have all those words and illustrations. And you can take this repair list and send it directly to the listing agent, directly to the client, or the contractor. And they'll be able to get a glimpse of the entire report in an abbreviated fashion. And they can begin to write out their cost estimates, their notes, right on the repair list. And you can share it through a link. Bear with me. My internet. So far, while I wait for my internet to reconnect, are there any questions about the home inspection? Yes, sister.
Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for taking us through the various steps. And I got a few things written down for the checklist as well. Two quick questions. What happens when you've done a home inspection and, for example, you've seen the doors installed the other way around? The buyer or the seller, who's supposed to fix it?
That's a good question. Typically, deficiencies, and especially as a door being installed improperly, I would put that on the seller because it's as simple as getting a contractor, coming in, and properly installing the door. I would recommend, though, to my buyer, considering the purchase price of the home and their investment expectations, you may not want to walk away from a deal because the door is installed backwards. I turn it up a notch and I say, why don't you install new doors? And then they say, oh yeah, I can put new doors in. I was thinking that. I take it and turn it. I try to I try to make it as painless as possible. And I never want to present either a seller or a buyer with just a one-way solution. But yes, I will put it on the seller. But if for some reason the seller isn't willing to budge, oh, that door's been like that. I bought it like that. Then I would tell my buyer, depending on your expectations and how much you want this property, it's just a door that's installed incorrectly.
Okay, thank you so much. And one of the experiences I've had has been with damp or moisture in the walls. Most people don't do damp proofing or waterproofing very well.
That's correct.
Here before the construction begins. And so with the exception of instances where it becomes a structural problem, what do you recommend for the buyer? Should he get the seller to do all the chipping away and replastering, trying to sort of like reintroduce some waterproofing compounds in there before, or you would just ask the buyer to just move on?
There you go.
It can be a problem.
You would do both. We always want to approach the seller first because they own the home, and it would be their ultimate responsibility to make that repair. But if, once again, during negotiations, oh, it's been like that. That's what we get a lot. It's been like that. That's the way it is. You would then just let your client know. I would already build relationships with a contractor, get a quote, so that you can go ahead, sorry, the seller is not budging on that, but this contractor can do the work of repairing and replacing that siding for X amount of money. And just try to provide a solution and kind of guide the client. It's a lot of sellers are tough, especially here in Ghana. A lot of things are as is. And so, you want to go in there with all your information, professionally documented so that they know that you're a serious buyer. And if you can meet me, negotiate, I will move further in the purchase process. But if not, and the seller is being very rude, not budging, you may not want to buy that property and move on to a seller that's willing to work with you and give you a better quality home.
So EJ, I just want to add to what you're, to what the questions that she asked. Typically, it's really not the inspector's area to tell you what to do, and this is the reason why we involve attorneys in all transactions. So when the inspector does his inspection and gives you, the buyer, the report, the best thing to do is to give it to your attorney, and then your attorney and your agent will have to go and renegotiate, just like he said, renegotiate. The inspector is just a professional who will tell you technical things that need to be repaired, and if it's the buyer who has to fix it or the seller who has to fix it, it goes back to the negotiation table. So his job is just to inspect and give you all the details of things that need to be repaired. As far as advice, they try to run away from it, and he'll tell you that's why he's being gentle about it.
Well, the home inspectors that really just inspect, they don't have the volume of inspections because you really want to be as informative as possible. So often you get the feedback that the home inspector killed the deal because he was not engaging and was just like, here's a report, deal with it. I want to also try to facilitate and be able to make things continue to flow, whether the deal stands or not. I don't want it to come to, oh, that inspector ruined the deal, because that comes out a lot. he underreported this, or and so whenever I have any client feedback or questions, I try to give them as much information as possible. With my wife being a realtor and, trying to just, she gets so upset when a home inspector is like, I did the inspection and you can't get any feedback on what to do, what steps to take. He's like, and so getting that, knowing that aspect I do go beyond the minimum requirements of a home inspector and try to give you more information. That's why I provide repair lists. Most home inspectors don't provide repair lists. I try to build a network with contractors in different areas so that when it comes up to time of negotiating repairs, the seller and the buyer aren't bickering back and forth. I provided a list of reasonable contractors to where they're both like, oh, we can do that. I don't want to be a deal breaker. I want to go over and go beyond the minimum requirement and provide as much information and support for both parties. I'm not for the buyer or the seller. I just want to do a good job as a inspector and foster the industry. If you guys can't sell homes because we're getting our inspection money and then your deal falls apart, you won't hire me again. And so it's a referral-based industry, and hallelujah, that's why I've been able to have the success, because I really take a hands-on approach and I try to provide as much insight and information to help.
Okay, I don't know if you mentioned this when you began, but who pays for the inspection?
Typically, it could be the buyer or the seller. Sometimes it's the agent. The agent will call me and say, my client is being stubborn. You put an inspection on this. And I recommend it. Every transaction should have a home inspection. Don't buy a property just walking through there, putting your good sense, and that helps. But definitely get a third party in there to take a look at the property.
From a realtor's point of view, I would say the buyer is the one that does most of the time, the buyer is the one that requires the inspection to be done. I think she asked another question regarding water ingress. It's a problem in Ghana, the dump that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of houses in certain areas that have that problem and that actually breeds mold.
Yes.
I think mold is a big problem in Ghana. We have not addressed that problem, but mold is dangerous. Yeah. And I really appreciate your presence in Ghana and the love that you have for this country, for moving all the way from the U.S. and selling your family here just to help this industry. Property inspection is one thing that we should not joke about. I would implore almost all realtors to have properties inspected to make sure that the property is habitable,
that's right,
safe, and healthy. So you can tell us a little bit about that.
Okay.
The damp and the mold.
Okay. Well, the problem with the excessive moisture, basically breaking down the lower portions of the home, the structure needs to have about a 1.5 to 2-inch gap space from the grade. They're just building the home right on top of the ground. In the States, you'll see that the slab is sometimes a foot before they start building up. It's not touching the grade at all. And the gutter systems, you put gutters on a home. You do not build the structure directly on the ground, and you damp proof. That's where you pour your concrete, and then you put a sheet of plastic, rubber, over the foundation, and then you can begin to build up on the structure. Just taking those steps would improve drastically the look of Ghana as far as the homes. You will begin to see less homes with that excessive moisture along the first 3 feet of a structure. And as far as just making sure that the home is safe, making sure that it's livable, that's really the key. I had some other, let me see if this is up, because this will go perfect. All right. The red flags during the home inspection. So potential red flags that can arise during a property home inspection includes evidence of water damage, structural defects, problems with the plumbing or electrical system, as well as mold and pest infestations. The presence of one or more of these issues could be a deal breaker for some buyers. So, for example, water leaking from the unit where the coolant hoses are at the unit. We just want to, that's a huge problem that I see here. And it's because you see the insulation around the hose, it's not completely covering. And so as the outside temperature hits that hose, it causes condensation. And sometimes you have excessive water coming out of that unit because it's faulty. And it's a drain line in there that's leaking. And so sometimes it can be clogged, backed up, and you just want to make sure that the unit is working properly. This is what we use here in Ghana. In the States, you have HVAC systems, but here they have standalone systems. And so even though they're much more affordable, you just want to make sure that they're properly maintained so they can have the longest longevity. Once again, this is typical vertical crack here. You just want to keep an eye on these. Anytime the cracks become half an inch, we know that we have a structural issue. Septic systems, they have an odor, water leaks, and excessive waste. We see this septic system here. It has a square fitting for a lid, but that is not what they're using. They just put a large rock on it. So of course, this system you can smell as soon as you get on the compound. And then it's full. And this is the primary reservoir. It is not supposed to look like that. Will you guys typically see that for a red flag check? Possibly not, but you will smell this. And that's why I even went to move it, because I was like, wow, the odor was very strong. And I just slid the rock off to the side and boom, it's full. And that is excessively full. So I think there may be some type of backup clogging from the primary tank to the secondary tank. Exposed water and drain lines around the perimeter of the home. Oh my goodness. You have to bury those lines. You don't want a car to run over them. You don't want any mechanical damage to happen to these lines. It's a big repair, and it's a waste of resources. And it can cost you a lot of money. Here's a correct example of a P-trap on the left. The one on the right is from a sink here in Ghana. You also see that the water hose there is not the proper high pressure hose. You can even see how it pinches in to the outlet. And then the drain piping has a horizontal line and it's caulked together with some type of sealant. These things are problems, and you want to address them and let your buyer know that, hey, we may want to, in the future, look towards repairing or replacing this arrangement. And this did eventually, that water hose, it busted and it flooded the entire apartment. The individuals were gone 2 or 3 days while this water was running and flooding their apartment. The major problem, once again, with the accordion pipe is a collection of grime, hair, and dirt. And the design allows for debris to easily collect in the waistline. And it doesn't have a proper seal, so you'll always smell sewage inside of the bathroom or kitchen sometimes. Exposed electrical wires are a safety and fire hazard. You want to have your electrical wiring enclosed in conduit, a plastic conduit, and you want it to be locked in a closet with some type of key. This is high voltage electricity right here, and you can lose a life just pulling on these wires. This is a junction box with wires on the right, on the exterior of a home. I'm pretty sure it's probably for exterior lighting. You're really not sure, but you want to be safe. Children can come, pull those out, and possibly harm themselves. Poor quality in storage of building materials. Typically for concrete blocks, you want to lay them on top of rubber. You don't want the blocks directly contacting the soil. In addition, you don't want to leave the concrete blocks exposed to the weather elements. It begins to break down the material before you're able to use it for construction. And a lot of times, when there are sand shortages, the quality of the bricks can really decrease. So you just want to be mindful of that. When you have new construction projects, you really want to be on the contractors about building in a timely fashion. Sometimes they'll tell you, oh, you don't want to build too fast, but you don't want to build too slow. You want to build at a steady pace to where, yes, the foundation will settle so that you can begin to add the load onto the foundation. But, you know, leaving these bricks out, these bricks specifically were left out for 3 months on a project. And I mean, you can just walk up to the bricks and rub your finger along it, and it chips away the material. So you really want to make sure that the brick makers who are making your blocks make sure that they're doing so at the highest quality and workmanship, and just not rushing it out. Excellent. This is my contact information. Buildinginspectorsgh.com. That's my online site. If you need to email me, call me, please do. I still have investors, clients that call me. They send me photos. They ask my insight about a particular home. They even send me their home inspection reports to look over and make sure that it was a thorough report. So if you guys have any questions about a property, if you guys send a photo, take photos and send them to me, I'll be glad to consult with you, give you a heads up, and give you some further insight as to how to proceed with the client as far as the home.
Hello, Elwood. My name is Kalinse with Jail Properties. The field that you are in is very important for our industry. Coming in to inspect houses and giving confidence to buyers and sellers. For us, from a real estate point of view, we build to sell. So normally, it will be easier when you work with companies that are serious in the industry.
Yes, right.
Companies like ours, because we are one of the biggest in the country. For us, when you come and buy our property, we give you a defect period. So it makes your work easier. Your client will also be more happier dealing with companies like ours, because once you sign a contract, there is always a defect period that we give you. So in case there are things that are not properly fitted or things that break out of no fault of either the buyer or the seller, it is taken care of. So it makes your work very easy, and then we have more than enough to sell.
That's right.
So that's all I have to add to what you have.
Oh, excellent. And brother, with builders, I like to do phase inspections and provide you the report with your product. So that way, as you bring your clients in, you can have a detailed report with your product at each phase of the construction. And so that's something I love to do. That's why, oh man. So I would love to speak with you more in depth after the instruction and get your contact. Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what Sharon and Ms. Vicky were talking about. I think that as a real estate professional, a real estate professional, we're always going to be concerned about if our deal is going to fall apart due to a home inspection. And it happens. The takeaway from it, though, is that most of our business as real estate professionals is generated by referrals. When you take the due diligence to inform your buyer and recommend that your buyer has a home inspector, this signifies to the buyer that you are serious about them and their investment. You're negotiating on their behalf, and they are more likely to refer you business in the future. Whereas if you just take the hands-off approach and you let your buyer go in it in the dark, and they have a bad experience or they get into a home with major defects, they're going to look back to you. You're the only contact that they have. They can't necessarily contact the seller, it's you. So it just is a better way for you to provide due diligence and for you to show that you have your buyer's best interest at hand.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, brother.
Morning. My name is Redeemer from La Civitas Real Estate and Security Systems. Yes, thank you very much. I have this question. We're dealing with value here, price versus value. The seller is looking for money and he wants to appreciate value. The buyer is also looking for this defect, the damages, the normal wear and tear to depreciate value. Now you're saying that it is very important the seller gets the buyer in the know that these are the defects with the properties.
That's right.
And he is going to pay for. Madam said from the realtor's point of view, the buyer will have to engage the inspector, property inspector. Yes, now, I'm listing these properties and I'm trying as much as possible to present the very beautiful side of it to appreciate value. Now, I'm being told that I should to build that trust, I should pre-inform the buyer that this is what the defects are concerning the property. So the simple question is, isn't that going to devalue the property you're putting out there? And also, secondly, are you saying that when I'm doing my listing, I put all those defects, the normal wear and tear, the damages, do I also include them in my listings?
Okay, great question.
Thank you.
We create, and I didn't show it, we create an actual binder for the seller to put into the disclosure for the home. And so it does not highlight every deficiency, but we will highlight the major deficiencies. Say, for instance, if the AC unit is spoiled and for some reason you don't want to replace it, that is something that needs to be disclosed. Now, disclosing every horizontal crack, vertical crack, no. Showing every cracked window, no. But you as a seller should make those minimum repairs so that when you do price the home, you can get top value. If you just present it as is, then rightfully the seller should price accordingly. Because like you say, the deficiencies do depreciate the property. You knowing that you want to list this property, make as many of the minimal repairs as possible and they'll get brand new themselves. Buying old appliances, they can go out as soon as you move in. Taking used AC units, you don't know the usage and wear and tear. So as a home inspector, as an inspector for a seller, we want to communicate and understand these things. And so to answer your question, we're not going to disclose every deficiency. We're going to try to make as many repairs as we can. And then the bigger items that you feel that you just cannot repair or replace, we want to disclose those. And things like AC, air conditioning unit, gas stove, even sometimes the bathroom arrangement as far as the hoses and knobs, things like that. We want to disclose those things, so those are major to a buyer, you know. But you're correct. We're not going to disclose every crack. You should paint those, I would think, you know, fill them in, make the paint, you know, make the necessary.
Many homeowners are never ready to spend on putting things right correctly. Because I've had homeowners whom I've advised, I've done some sort of your job before. Before I try putting your property on listing, I try advising them. These are the defects I've found. These are normal tear, wear and tear. We think we can replace them. They say, no, I'm only interested in the money. I have not much money to spend any longer. I just need the money. So you just put it out there.
There you go.
There are for rentals also, homeowners do build the property just for the fact that there is electricity, there's water flowing, there is roofing, that's it. Open wires, electric wires, live wires showing, you tell them, no, we need to get this done. Hey, oh, when they come, we'll do it. When we do this, blah, 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 blah. They just leave it there. It's becoming a culture in our system. I think with your presence here, we can do something about it. Thank you very much.
That's correct. And in addition, BIG will begin offering home evaluations, annual home evaluations for sellers or homeowners to just get a snapshot of their home. It's extremely discounted because the home isn't going on the market. It's just a home evaluation. And as we begin promoting this to homeowners and they begin taking these annual home evaluations, I believe they will begin making more repairs, upgrades to the property so that when you get them, the home isn't in such bad condition. So yes, we do have a solution for that. We're going to turn it around. We will turn it around.
Okay, so we'll take the last question now so that you take leave of us and then our next speaker will come on.
Thank you very much. This has been very insightful for me. One suggestion that I will make is, I think personally, the Real Estate Act should be amended, and when it does, we should consider home inspection, because a lot of properties in Ghana, I think Ghana is the only country in Africa where landlords don't consider, they build a home and there's no room for sanitation. So, and with issues of mold and all that. So we should consider home inspection when the act is being amended. That's now, right. My question is, you mentioned window bars. Here we have, we put them because of security.
That's right.
I've grown up and this is all that I know. How do we change this?
When the home is being newly constructed, let the contractor know to not put security bars in the home that cannot be opened. Typically, you want to have an arrangement, if you still want bars on your window, where a key or a lock mechanism can unlock and you can get in and out of the window with the bars. That's really the only thing that I can suggest for homes that do not have a wall around it, that are not inside of a compound. Other than that, you know, for a home that's inside of a compound, I just recommend securing the wall, the top of the wall with some type. I saw they do glass, broken glass. Some people do barbed wire. Oh, the electrical fencing that they use. Some type of alternative. instead of the bars. But I know it's hard for when your home is not in a compound and you're amongst other residents, but it's a big safety hazard. And the thing is that the one time that you're trapped in your home, that may be the only chance. And so we just want to limit that liability and try to build without putting bars on the home. And lastly, don't install the bars into the structure. Have it attached by a bolt or something that where if you need to get out of there, you can, I don't know if you have time, but you can basically break it down if you have that tool, unscrew and pull those bars from the wall. And so you will bolt it from the interior side. Yeah.
Hi there, in the back here.
Hey, sister.
Hi there, hey, all the way from America. So this is Natasha Howe with Kuya Property Management Group, and we recently just formed a Kuya here in Kumasi. And my question to you is, I specialize in property management services in the States, and generally, we don't do such a thing as home inspections, but I do have our maintenance supervisor come out and inspect each rental before we take it on. But something here in Ghana, I think, do you find that property management companies are seeking your services for rentals?
Not yet.
Okay.
But definitely, that is the goal in our market.
Okay.
Rentals, pre-purchase, pre-listing, annual home evaluations. I want big to cover it all.
Okay.
Cover it all. So yes. But as of yet, I haven't had a management company, hire me for our services.
We might be your first company. All right, awesome. Thank you.
Hey.
Coach Allen, I will be the last. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. And I want to tell everybody that if you are looking for this Master Home Inspector, then look out for GREPA, the Ghana Real Estate Professionals Association.
That's right.
He's with GREPA. Coach, I have a question. What will be the measure of standard to the extent of damage will be disclosed to push the property off the rental or the purchase market? I am assuming there must be a standard where you see the property and say, this has too many defects, take it off the market. Or I want to know the standard. And then secondly, do you give price opinion? Like after your report, are you in a position to give price opinion?
Yes.
You say, brother, this house, don't put it up for this price. Put it up for this price.
Great question. And I end it real quick. Brother, typically, as far as the standards, Building Code 2018, that is the standard that I hold every building to. However, I acknowledge the market here in Ghana. I know that a lot of contractors and builders are not educated on the building codes of 2018. So there's a little bit of understanding to the approach when I do the home inspection. What is normally going on and what is the standard? And then I try to educate the buyer and seller on the standard, but I communicate what's going on. So the standard is Building Code 2018, but it's Ghana. And so if I come with a high standard and expectation, a lot of the reports that I do, home inspections, they'll be bad. And I'll be running, there wouldn't be any market. Y'all would say EJ is single-handedly killing this market. So you have to approach it with understanding. And so I see what is the scape. I see what little things we can do, and so I emphasize those things in the report, such as accordion drain piping. That's laziness. That's the plumber not wanting to measure and properly cut the piping so that it fits. That's something we can change. The damp proofing for the foundation, that's something we can change. Rafter ties, those are things that we can change. And so yes, I do highly emphasize those deficiencies and hold a high standard to that, according to the building code of 2018. What was the second part of your question, brother? It was the second part. Yes. I typically, though, home inspectors do not do that. Once again, home inspectors do not do the things that I do, but they don't have the volume and the reach that I do and the repeat business. So I provide price quoting, repair list of contractors that I vetted, that I know, to recommend. I don't push it on them, say this is who you work with. I say, this is what this contractor has quoted. So now when you do your due diligence and shop around, we have some price point to know if the pricing is fair or not. Because especially being an expat, calling around, as soon as they hear your voice, it's going to be a slightly inflated cost. So at least if I have built the rapport with contractors here, you know when you're calling and somebody says 3,000, and I told you it's 1,000, you can continue to shop around or use the contractor in the network. Oh, I'm finished. Everybody, thank you so much. It's been such a blessing to be up here and present this to you guys. I know it's not as exciting because it's a home inspection and it's detailed and very in-depth. But thank you guys. You've been a great audience. And I just praise the Most High and thank Him. Hallelujah.
Thank you very much.